Hello student, this is Biology Form 4. We continue chapter 15, 15.2, Gametogenesis in humans. The necessity of gametogenesis. So what is gametogenesis? The production process of reproductive cells or gametes is called gametogenesis. Okay, so this process takes place in the gonads. What is gonads? Gonads is either testes in males and ovaries in females. Okay, gametogenesis produces gametes that are haploid. When fertilization takes place, the nucleus of the sperm will fuse with the nucleus of the ovum in the fallopian tube to form a diploid zygote, 2N. So we go to spermatogenesis first. This is process of sperm production that takes place in seminiferous tubules. Okay, so this figure shows longitudinal sections of testes. So here is the seminiferous tubules, and this is the sperm duct or the vas deferens, and here is the epididymis. Okay. So each seminiferous tubule consists of primordial germ cells. Primordial germ cells will undergo cell division to produce sperm. Sertoli cells within the walls of seminiferous tubules provide nutrient throughout this process. Sperm is transported from the seminiferous tubules, okay, from here to the epididymis and flow out through the sperm duct or the vas deferens. So the productions of sperm akan berlaku di sini, seminiferous tubules. Okay, di mana tubule ini consist of primordial germ cells. So dia akan undergo cell division, producing sperm. Okay, and then the sperm transported from these tubules. So dia akan pergi kepada epididymis. Lepas itu baru pergi kepada sperm duct ataupun vas deferens. Spermatogenesis is stimulated by FSH hormone, which is the follicle stimulating hormone, and also testosterone hormone. This process is also aided by the luteinizing hormone LH, which stimulates the testosterone secretion in the testes. So this one, primordial germ cells, this is inside the seminiferous tubule. The primordial germ cells divide mitotically to form diploid spermatogonium. Okay, repetitive mitotic division. Spermatogonium expands to form primary spermatocyte, which is diploid. From spermatogonium, dia jadi primary spermatocytes, di mana dia adalah diploid. So ini adalah growth phase. Okay, and then each primary spermatocytes undergo meiosis 1 to form two secondary spermatocyte, which is haploid. Okay, here 1, 2 haploid, secondary spermatocytes. Okay, and then each secondary spermatocytes undergo meiosis 2 to produce two haploid spermatids. So here we'll produce two haploid spermatids, and this one also produce two haploid spermatids. Okay, and then the spermatids undergo differentiation here to form sperms. Okay, so sperms. Sinilah dia form sperms. Semuanya haploid. So inilah spermatogenesis. From primordial germ cells until become sperm. Di sini. Alright? Okay, how about oogenesis? Oogenesis is the process of secondary oocyte or female gamete production. This process takes place in the ovaries. And unlike spermatogenesis, oogenesis begins in a female's ovaries before they are born. So here, before birth, okay, before birth, here primordial germ cells, which is diploid, will undergo mitotic division multiple times to form oogonium, which is diploid. Okay, and then oogonium develops into primary oocyte, which is encapsulated with one or more layer of follicular cells forming primary follicles. This is the primary oocyte. Primary oocyte encapsulated with layers of follicular cells forming primary follicle. The growth of the follicle is stimulated by the follicle stimulating hormone FSH. Primary oocyte then undergoes meiosis, but the process stops at prophase 1. Okay, remember, stops at prophase 1 during fetal development. So at birth, a baby girl already has millions of primary oocytes that remain dormant in prophase 1, meiosis 1. The number of oocytes will decrease at puberty. Okay, upon reaching puberty, the primary oocyte will continue meiosis 1 to form secondary oocytes here and the first polar body, which is haploid. And then secondary oocyte will begin meiosis 2, which is then halted at metaphase 2. And the first polar body will complete meiosis 2 to form 2 second polar bodies here. A layer of follicular cells envelop the secondary oocyte. Okay, this is secondary oocytes. A layer of follicular cell envelopes the secondary oocyte and is called secondary follicle. The secondary follicle will then develop into Graafian follicle, which release estrogen. And then a mature Graafian follicle will approach the surface of the ovary and release a secondary oocyte into the fallopian tube. So this process called as ovulation. The secondary oocyte, which is the immature ovum, will complete meiosis 2 once a sperm penetrates it. Remember, secondary oocyte, the immature ovum, will complete meiosis 2 only when a sperm penetrates it. Meiosis 2 produces ovum, which is haploid, and the first polar body here. Okay, the first polar body, haploid also. So fertilization takes place when the sperm nucleus fuses with ovum nucleus and produces a diploid zygote. The rest of the polar body will die and will be disintegrated by the ovary. This one, all the polar bodies die and disintegrated by the ovary. And then after ovulation, the remaining follicle forms corpus luteum. So this is corpus luteum. So this one is oogenesis in the ovaries. Okay, this one is the primary follicle, secondary follicle. Okay, and then this is the primary oocyte, Graafian follicle, secondary oocyte, and this one is the corpus luteum. Upon fertilization, the corpus luteum continues to grow and secrete estrogen and progesterone. But if fertilization didn't occur, or without fertilization, the corpus luteum and the secondary oocyte will degenerate and dies and then remove through menstruation. Okay, structure of sperm and Graafian follicle. The sperm, this one is sperm, has three main parts: the head, the midpiece, and the tail. The head contains nucleus, whereas the midpiece is packed with mitochondria, which will generate energy for the sperm to swim into the fallopian tube for fertilization. And then this one is Graafian follicle. This is the follicle cells, and this is the secondary oocyte. The secondary oocyte is a large cell that is surrounded by a gel-like substance and follicular cells. The secondary oocytes and the follicular cells will form Graafian follicle. So the comparison between spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Similarities: both are processes of gametogenesis that takes place in the reproductive organs. Okay, both produce gametes that are haploid, which are involved in fertilization. And the differences are: for spermatogenesis, it takes place in testes. Oogenesis takes place in ovaries. Spermatogenesis, the spermatoganium diploid produces 4 sperms, which is haploid after meiosis. And here, organium, which is diploid, only produce 1 functional secondary oocyte, which is haploid, and 3 non-functioning polar bodies after meiosis. So remember here 4, here only 1. Sperms are smaller and made up of midpiece, head, and tail. And secondary oocytes are large and spherical in shape. After meiosis 1, 2 secondary spermatocytes are produced. But here, after meiosis 1, only 1 secondary oocyte and 1 polar body is produced. For spermatogenesis, meiosis is completed. Oogenesis, meiosis 2 is only completed when a sperm fertilizes the secondary oocyte. Spermatids undergo differentiation to become sperm, but here secondary oocyte does not undergo differentiation. The production of sperm is continuous from puberty until old age. The production of secondary oocyte is not continuous. It starts in the female fetus and remains dormant when the baby is born. The process continues once the female reaches puberty and will stop during menopause. Millions of sperms are formed every day. Only one secondary oocyte is released from the ovaries at every menstrual cycle. So this is the comparison between spermatogenesis and oogenesis. So that's all for today. We will continue next subtopic in the next video. Thank you.